And so I'm going to share some of the scams that are out there, give you real live examples of ones that I've known, ones that I've almost gotten caught into for one reason or another. And so that you understand prison is real and it does happen. I know we'll do this song and dance as attorneys. Oh my God, if you don't do anything right, your life is over. The reality is, as long as you're trying to do good, you're trying to take the right steps, you're trying to protect and take care of your investors, in general, maybe there's a fine. Maybe there's a cease and desist. Maybe you have to offer to the investors to send them their money back. But what I'm going to talk about today and what I'm going to cover today will send you to prison. And I've got some great stories to share. I don't know if you've known this, but I actually have talked to the SEC, the FBI, an unknown number of times. Reason being, hey, I was a practicing attorney, cutting my teeth, learning how to do deals, learning how to put together real estate syndications, some business startups. Let's talk about some acquisitions or developments in the mecca of scams, Las Vegas. So for better or worse, I had the horrible opportunity to have seen way too much, to have my partners, my clients get into these situations. Some people that don't listen go to prison. But I'm going to really dive into why and how this has actually occurred. To start with, I'm calling it the operator, not issuer. One of the biggest things for you to watch out for are the promoters. Hey, raise some capital. You're going to make so much money. Your investors are going to make so much money. This is the best deal since sliced bread. Oh my God. Yeah, fantastic. However, I don't want to deal with the investors. I don't want to be the issuer. I don't even want having communications with the investors. I want you to do it all. And anybody that has been in this industry doing private deals for any length of time, you know who I'm talking about. You've seen it and you've dealt with it. Here is a true story, hiding the identities. I'm even going to change the industry to protect the innocent and protect the guilty. They will get theirs. It's not my place in the world. But we've got this operator. And we'll just say that they are a great operator that's opening up 7-Elevens. That's really not the case, but oh my God, I have run these 7-Elevens so amazingly wonderful that you would be crazy if you did not hire me, connect with me, raise capital to fund me opening more locations. There's actually a very similar deal to that happening, and it's kind of collapsing right now with ATMs and an ATM promoter here in the Dallas area. They may go to prison at the end of the day because they were actually soliciting funds directly. But a big part of their strategy was exactly this. Oh my God, I'm amazing. I have such a great track record. I know what I'm doing, but I can't really prove it. I can show you these pro forma numbers. I can show you this analysis that's going to show that you're going to make gazillions of dollars. Your investors are going to be making 30% annualized returns. Yeah, it's just not real. But the setup, the way it always looks, is the service company, the operator, the guy that's saying, all I need is the money. And you know what? You raise the capital, you work with the investors, and it shouldn't be me. I don't want it to be me. What inevitably happens is they will rope some people into start a fund, find your own investors, do one of these fund-to-fund strategies. If you don't know what a fund-to-fund strategy is, you've got one company that is trying to accomplish something, and then they convince other promoters or fund managers to raise capital into their own deal to invest into another. It's actually a very legitimate structure and a legitimate strategy. It all really comes down to, is the guy that's going to ultimately get the money scrupulous, trustworthy? Does he have a proven track record, not just himself? Does he have a proven track record managing investor funds? And if that service company says, oh, no, we have all this experience, we are the best in the business at exactly what we're due, but we haven't worked with investors before, there's a key for you to really hone in on, because what they're really saying is, well, this is a brand new thing, and we don't want to give you any indication of what you should expect for yourself, what you should expect for your investors. And now, inevitably, I'm opening up these 7-Elevens, and I go to you, and I say, hey, I've been doing great at this. I've actually been making 200% annualized returns. Usually it's actually around 35 to 50%. Those are important numbers to remember, because you're going to make an amazing return just for raising the capital, just for dealing with the investors. You're probably going to be able to take 10%, 15%, up to 20% of the return yourself. And all you have to do is raise the money, deal with the investors. And then the investors, they're going to get 20% returns, 25% returns, 30% returns. That's what these service operators that really don't want to have anything to do with the investors, well, they don't want to have anything to do with the investors because they're ready to scam. They're ready to take those funds. They don't care what ultimately happens to the deal. They will, in fact, open up those 7-Elevens. They have to, because that's their risk. Whether they report back, this is what's going on with your investment. Whether they even report back, this is how I've used the funds. That often doesn't happen. It can start to look like a black hole. They want to do enough that if you ever sue, they can rightfully say, I did this. This was my contractual obligation. Oh my God, look at this 2-page agreement that this is exactly what I was going to do for you. And they will oftentimes win. I hate to say it. They have a contract not to solicit investors. They have a contract to provide some service. It is generally a very loosey-goosey type contract. It's a service company. It's not an investment issuer. Similar, another just shady deal. And very similar to this, a service company. These were actually some clients that I won't name names, but this is the exact true story of how these guys basically scammed investors. And today, the main guys are spending 80 years to life in prison. And at their age, it will be life in prison. Originally, they were my clients. Originally, they came to me and said, hey, we're trying to set up this service business. I'm hoping that you will write me a legal opinion that says that we're actually not offering securities. I look at what their plan is, and frankly, what their pitch to the investors was that, hey, pay us for us to do this regulatory process to get you these wavelength bands. And because you will have it, AT&T, T-Mobile, all of these huge cellular companies, they're going to pay you ridiculous sums of money to lease this bandwidth. Sounded good. Pitch to the investors, to the service buyers. You're going to be making 30 to 50% every year from these leases. It's a no-brainer to move forward. You can either invest yourself or, better yet, why don't you put together a fund, raise the capital, use us to do all of this work, and this is what our fee is going to be. Same setup. We have the service company that is not soliciting for investor funds. We have an investment vehicle from third parties that are raising the capital. Ultimately, all of that money is getting to the service company. For at least these guys, they had experience to be able to talk about what they were doing, how they were going to make all this happen, and it sounded so good. And the reason why I can share this with you, and I ended up getting called as a witness. What happened, and this is really important for you to know as well, I had to testify. Kind of key witness for these guys to go to prison. But they tried to engage for my law firm services to do this legal opinion, to say that whatever they're doing was legal. It was not selling an investment. They didn't have to pay attention to securities regulations. I sent back a very pointed communication showing that, no, you are selling a security. It's an investment contract. You may not call it a fund. You may not call it a syndication, but ultimately you are offering the same investment contract to each and every potential client with the pitch that hire us for this amount. We're going to do these things. And I believe you're going to get an amazing return. I'm not going to promise anything, just like never promise anything with an investment. Now, I, of course, declined. I actually never talked to them or heard from them again until all this blew up. They found another attorney, less experienced, didn't actually even practice securities, but they convinced them to give them a legal opinion that said what they were doing was not selling securities. And you know what? They moved forward. They sold clients. Actually, it was around $16 million of clients that they brought in to do this regulatory process to get them their bandwidth. And then the SEC goes calling. Turns out they had actually pocketed $10 million, give or take, between the two principals. And then, of course, other people get other amounts because they got to keep the engine rolling. And then when the SEC started, first, and this is how it happens, there's a subpoena that comes out, or a nicer letter that firmly states, we want to interview you. And so these guys started down this process. And ultimately, they said, oh, it's a security? It's an investment? We had no idea. We were relying on this other attorney's legal opinion that said that we weren't selling a security. SEC says, well, great. We still want all of your communications. And by the way, now you're using, this is a defensive counsel. My attorney said it was okay, so I went ahead and did it. That's actually a defense, but it also waives attorney-client confidentiality. And that's why I can share this true story with you today.